Hello, everyone. I'm Jason Tokarski.
And I'm Megan McGurman. Welcome to For the Love of Health, brought to you by ChristianaCare.
If you have medical conditions such as diabetes or congestive heart failure, you likely understand how much your lifestyle impacts your health.
Nutrition is a major part of that lifestyle. ChristianaCare is continuing to enhance nutrition-focused coaching to help patients thrive.
To tell us more, we're joined by community health workers in the ChristianaCare Food is Medicine program, Eric Plautz and Alyssa Benjamin.
Eric and Alyssa, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
About 2 years ago, we had Michelle Axe on the podcast, who was your program manager for Food is Medicine here at ChristianaCare. 2 years have gone by. You guys have done so much growth, so much change, but still making a significant impact for patients. Talk to us about where Food is Medicine at ChristianaCare is today.
So within ChristianaCare, our Food is Medicine team, we provide several programs for patients who are experiencing many health challenges related to chronic disease, whether it's diabetes, hypertension, congestive heart failure. The different programs fall under the umbrella of medically tailored meals, groceries, and produce prescriptions. Eric and I are community health workers for the Delaware Food Farmacy program, which is a medically tailored groceries program where we work with patients one-on-one each week, focusing on nutrition and health coaching education to improve their health outcomes, whether it's related to diabetes, congestive heart failure, or for myself, I'm working with pregnant patients to improve their health outcomes during their pregnancy.
And what's really important to know is where we started with our Delaware Food Farmacy program, because where we started is really important to define where we are now. The Delaware Food Farmacy program has been around since 2021. I joined in November of 21. And one of the things that we kind of focused on back then was helping out individuals and patients with more social determinants or social drivers of health needs. So we were doing a lot of things that were more of a social worker responsibility and not so much a community health worker responsibility. Though we were a food is medicine and nutrition focused program, we weren't really doing a lot of nutrition education or nutrition related interactions. So it was discussed late in 2025 and early into 26 that we would be revamping our program to a more Delaware Food Farmacy 2.0 program. And Alyssa came up with the idea to come up with a across-the-board blanket kind of curriculum, as we call it, to educate and interact with all of our patients across both programs, the primary care program and the women's health program, so that we can make sure that the outcomes are very similar at the end of the program so that what we're teaching is the same. We all come from different backgrounds. There are 5 community health workers that make up the 2 Delaware Food Farmacy programs. And with that, there comes a lot of different knowledge and understanding and a lot of different approaches to certain health disparities or health issues. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to make sure that what we were doing wasn't different. I wouldn't necessarily want to talk to you about diabetes one way and then talk to you about it a different way. We want to make sure that the education that is being provided is the same, is accurate, and is scientifically backed. So we came up with this curriculum, which took us a few months to come up with, and we are about 3 months in now, and we are seeing a lot of great results. We're still kind of ironing things out, but so far, things are going really well.
Let's talk about one of those new programs that you've got in now, which is like a 5-phase stepped tiered program, which takes everybody from looking at the relationship with food to long-term sustainability with it there. Give us a Cliff Notes version of that program and why it's so important.
The 5 different phases are built in such a way where they build off of each other. However, depending on a patient's needs, you can move throughout the different phases as needed. So if you needed to access something or teach something from phase 4 or phase 3 early on in the program, that's totally okay. They all work very synergistically with each other. So the first phase is basically talking to people about what is food as medicine, understanding nutrition education at its basic level, understanding knife skills, how to properly store and prepare foods. Then we move on to phase 2, which is about talking about chronic disease management. I want to talk to you about your diabetes or your congestive heart failure? How are you maintaining it? Do you understand what it is that it's doing to your body and why you need to be taking medication? Are you recording it properly? Are you sharing that recorded information with your doctors? So we want to make sure that they understand the why of it all, because people go throughout their lives being told, oh, I have hypertension, but I don't really know what it means. You're telling me that my blood pressure is 130/85, but I don't know what that means. That's where we come in, and we want to make sure that they're being told to their understanding what it means, and then helping them build that understanding and then move on to the phase 3.
So going into phase 3, we focus on shopping, cooking, and meal planning. This is where we get into cooking demonstrations with our patients, and then also focusing on their culture and identity. So we go through how do they grocery shop, when do they grocery shop, how do they plan meals for them and their families. And then we also go a step further when it comes to figuring out their culture and their identity. So looking back on what types of foods that they grew up eating, what are some of their favorite flavor profiles, sweet, savory, and then we get into trying different foods that they may not necessarily come across, and then we help them with creating meals using different ingredients. So going into phase 4, we talk about behavior change, where we check in with them to figure out how are they implementing everything that they've learned thus far in the program. So we talk to them about coping with triggers as one of the things. How are they coping with triggers when it comes to being in environments, whether they are at a family gathering, and sticking to the goals that they've created with us in the program. We also get into their cooking habits. So we do some cooking sessions with them and making sure that they've learned all of the things that we've educated them on. So the other behaviors that we focus on in this phase is going into more physical activity. So whether a patient wants to improve their physical activity by walking more or getting into exercising more, figuring out different ways to set goals with them when it comes to behavior change. And then getting into phase 5, this is the maintenance and sustainability part. This is where we're approaching the end of their time in the program. So figuring out how to set them up for success when they do not have Eric and I after their time in the program. So we help them with setting up their final PCP appointments, making sure that they have their postpartum plan ready and set to go for after they're done with our program, and also making sure that they are connected to other food and nutrition resources in the community.
And that's the Cliff Notes version of this. That's a lot of information. How does all of this come together, the combination of it, work together to get people to the end results that they're looking for?
Yeah, so when we were coming up with the curriculum, one of the things that we found was when we wanted to bring up a topic or propose something to be educated on, we had to then ask, okay, do they have already a foundation of this knowledge? So I want to talk to you about eating properly for your health. Well, do you understand what eating healthy actually looks like? Okay, you need to eat 3 balanced meals a day. Well, do you know what a balanced meal is? What makes up a balanced meal? Talking then about macronutrients. Well, do you know what macronutrients are? We want to make sure that what we're telling them, they do not feel inferior or less than or being talked down to. We want to come to them and say, all right, where are you at in your knowledge and your understanding of nutrition and healthy eating and all of that? I will tell you from the most basic, elementary form of things what you need to know so that we can build your knowledge, your understanding, so that the goals that you set down the road, you are more likely to succeed. Because if they have to fill in the gaps, sometimes they might fill in the gaps incorrectly. And so we want to try and make sure that everything that they do know is shared and backed by fact and science. So we found that it was very important to literally look at every minute interaction and detail of this program so that what we were building for and with them was being built with a strong, firm foundation, so that as we go through the 6 months or through the 8 months or the 10 months of the program, that they will end up a lot more informed, confident, and capable of following through post-program those goals that they've set and the knowledge that they've learned through the rest of their lives.
So, Eric, you are focusing on primary care patients. Alyssa, you're in women's health. I have to tell you, I remember I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes in one of my pregnancies, and I just remember doing a whole lot of Googling when I was trying to figure out what to eat. So talk to me about how you connect with these patients, how that program works to really help these patients wrap their head around some of this.
One of the things that I like to do when I'm meeting with a patient is just meeting them where they're at and focusing on progress and not perfection. So really understanding what their day-to-day lives are, and then also having that conversation or that dialogue with them that this is a trusting and safe space for them to be open with me and honest about what it is that they're going through in their health journey. So as a coach, my goal is to help them to get to where they need to go, and not come in with an agenda already of like what I plan to talk about. Just like with the phases, like some of the phases can be implemented at any time of the program. So when it comes to like gestational diabetes, for example, that could be something that a patient may have gotten a diagnosis early on in their pregnancy. So we can jump right there and talking about, okay, what are the things that your doctor's sharing with you, and what are the changes that you want to make, and start making goals from there. So it's really just meeting the patient where they're at and knowing that this is a safe space and that they can trust me when it comes to supporting them in their journey.
What are the requirements in that women's health space to even be eligible for your program?
So patients have to have a singleton pregnancy and then also a BMI of 30 or more.
And Eric, in primary care, what are we looking at there?
Yep. So somebody has to be, one, a ChristianaCare patient. They have to live within Newcastle County. They have to have a A1C of 8 or higher, or have congestive heart failure. We don't require hypertension as a qualifying criteria. It used to be, but now it's something that we do talk about because it goes along with both diabetes and congestive heart failure. Hypertension is very prevalent, and it's a comorbidity with both of those. So it is part of our curriculum that we include. So we talk about all three of those.
And Eric, I had the privilege of coming to a session between you and a patient recently. It is very clear to me that you have such a good connection with these patients, and that they trust you teaching them. We were making zucchini boats that day, I think. How do you even convince someone to try some of these things? You know, someone who is struggling with their health, who isn't eating a lot of these new foods that you're introducing. How do you get, to be honest, a full-grown adult to be like, I'll try zucchini. Sure, let's do that.
In the last 5 years that I've been with the program, I myself have come a long way. So in the beginning, I would have to rely on the results, successes, and experiences of my other community health worker coworkers who are eating a specific type of way, who are seeing results using a lot of what we are teaching our patients. And I was kind of just like, I'm going to continue to eat the way that I eat. But now what I'm doing is eating the way that I'm encouraging our patients to eat. And I'm seeing the results. And because I develop a relationship of trust with them, I can say, hey, I've been doing this. I'm a picky eater. I'm stubborn. If you think you're stubborn, I'm worse. But so what I ask you to do is just trust me a little bit. Let me show you that healthy food is delicious and can be made in a delicious way. The patient, Megan, that you came and saw and did the cooking session with, she was our very first Delaware Food Farmacy 2.0 patient. And I told her in the very beginning, I said, you're going to be our guinea pig. I'm going to be trying all these new techniques with you. So just be aware that what we're doing something together new. And she was all about that. I had a patient tell me just the other day, thank you so much for this program. I don't feel like I've just gotten food. I think that I've made a friend. That's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to make them feel that they can believe in and trust in the ChristianaCare health system, and know that when they turn towards somebody like a community health worker, they care about them, they want the best for them, and they'll go the extra mile to make sure that they are taken care of, that they get the care and service that they are deserving.
While these programs were created with specific health needs in mind, pregnancy, diabetes, heart issues, those kinds of things, you're obviously sharing information that's good for people of all walks of life, as you yourself found out as you were going through this. So give us a little bit about your message to anyone listening to this who might be able to benefit from some of the information you're sharing.
Yeah. So one of the things that we want to make sure is that patients know that this is not just while they have their diagnoses. And it's not just for the patients. What we love and encourage, though it doesn't always happen, is getting the families involved with their progress. The more people within the household that are engaging in this process, the faster the results will be seen because they're all encouraging each other. So we want everybody to know that you don't need to have any diagnosis to improve your health, to ensure or reduce the risk of any type of heart issues or pre-diabetes or diabetic issues that might be genetic or hereditary. We want everybody to know there's a lot of great information out there that is backed by science. And the information that we have isn't proprietary to the Delaware Food Pharmacy program. It's information that we've just researched and found from a lot of different reputable sources. And we've just kind of put it into one location. One of the things that we did create within our program, or that Alyssa created, was something called the 4-step healthy meal formula.
So the 4-step meal formula is a 4-step process to help you create a healthy, balanced meal. The first step is picking a fruit or a vegetable. The second step is picking a grain or a starch. The third step is picking a protein. And then the last step is picking a sauce or a topping. We've created this 4-step formula to help our patients with creating meal plans, because a lot of people, when they talk about wanting to improve their health, they don't know where to start. They don't know what to do. And so we created this simple system to help them with visualizing what a healthy plate looks like, and then putting ingredients together that they may enjoy and making a meal out of that.
So briefly and quickly talk about the cooking session that we recently did. I approached the taco zucchini boats in that same fashion. So what vegetables do we want to kind of make as the focus? Because according to the Harvard Healthy Eating Plate, half of your plate should be fruits and vegetables, about a third of your plate should be protein, and then the rest of it should be healthy and whole grains with a little bit of fats on the side, healthy unsaturated fats. So we took the zucchini itself, tomatoes, onions, and peppers. Then with the grain, I will either use a whole grain brown rice or quinoa or couscous. The protein will either use ground turkey or ground beef, make sure it's lean. And then the sauce is just the taco seasoning or what other sauces you prefer. And by using that 4-step healthy meal formula, we can make sure that they are getting an appropriate amount of fruits and or vegetables in their diet consistently, an appropriate amount of proteins, whether it be plant-based proteins or animal-based proteins, and a little bit of flavor with those sauces, and then just healthy starches with the couscous, quinoa, whole grains, and things like that. So it's been very helpful in my life and very helpful with our patients.
And by the end of the time that the patient is in the program, they will be able to demonstrate how to use that 4-step meal formula and do a final cooking demonstration using those 4 steps.
Eric and Alyssa, thank you so much. I know we'll be taking your 4-step formula and trying to implement it in our own homes, and I'm sure so will many of our listeners. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having us.
Check out the show notes for this episode for more information on the Delaware Food Pharmacy and ChristianaCare's Food is Medicine program.
And be sure to subscribe to For the Love of Health on your favorite podcast platform or on the ChristianaCare YouTube channel.
We'll be back in 2 weeks with another great conversation.
Until then, thanks for joining us.
For the love of health.